from the All Indiana Podcast Network.
It's time for real conversation about the real issues that affect our communities.
Poverty, education, equality, and more.
This is Real Talk.
Real Talk with Reverend Charles Harrison.
Welcome to Real Talk on the All Indiana Podcast Network, and I'm Reverend Charles Harrison, and on this episode, we're going to be talking about the mass shooting that happened in downtown Indianapolis this past weekend, and what are the solutions to this problem? Welcome to Real Talk on the All Indiana Podcast Network, and I am Reverend Charles Harrison, and I am just honored today to have two good friends and special guests with me today on this broadcast. The former deputy mayor of Indianapolis, Olgin Williams, and when I first met him, they called him the mayor of Hallville, who was the director of the Christamore House back in the late 90s when I first started doing this anti-violence work. And then another good friend of mine who is a pastor in the city, Reverend Richard Willoughby, who is the pastor of the Promised Land Christian Church. And he also serves on the board of Indianapolis 10 Point, along with a lot of other groups that he serves on in the city. And welcome, Olgin and Pastor Willoughby.
Hey,
thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Listen, really want to talk about this weekend and want to bring you in. I know, Olgin, you made some statements concerning what you thought needed to be done. Certainly I said something concerning the parenting, but let's talk a little bit about the problem downtown with teens. I first started getting involved in that issue back in the late 90s under, at that time, Mayor Stephen Goldsmith. And I remember when 10 Point first came on board and we formed, they would ask us to come downtown, and during that time, we was trying to help get the kids from the mall to the bus stop. And at that time, the bus stop was by the Capitol building. Yeah, Capitol. You know, you had all those buses there and bus stops. So we're trying to get 200 or 300 kids home from different sides of the town. But let's talk a little bit about this whole issue of the youth in downtown. And you probably could give us a history of when did it start?
Well, you know, violence is not a new thing for cities by any means. And we have had these incidents happen before. Children shooting the guns and getting injured. The problem downtown has been almost when they built, well, it goes back. Even when we was going to high school, they used to meet on the circle and have fights. I don't know if you remember that. Washington, addicts,
Oh, it goes way back.
Yeah. But there wasn't no violence. You meet down there. But when they built a Circuit City Mall, it became a magnet for youth and a perception that's a safe haven. Parents thought they could send their children down there unsupervised, and they under Donna Forbes, some more they created the pops and moms, and we walked on the weekends, and then they had parents on patrol on the outside and play with 10 Point. These are children, unsupervised, immature, that have access to deadly weapons and access to propaganda and media entertainment that's constantly putting in their head that this is cool, this is how you should elevate yourself, to be somebody in your community, and short-tempered. They eating the wrong foods and everything else. And so when they get together, they do what they do. They hurt one another and they do immature things. Without parents, adults, not parents, but parents owned by adults, they just do wild things. And that's why we know that when we were out there in the mall, on the streets, walking, we wasn't police.
Right.
We didn't try to tell them what to do.
Right.
Just our presence as adults.
Right.
And pastors especially, they saw what they said, they calmed down. They went down because they knew the people were out there, and it came back to who they really supposed to be. It really works. What happened the other day, it was tragic, of course, and people said they want to blame the gun permit issue. No, they did that years before they even had this issue. These kids are not old enough to have a permit anyway. They don't care.
Right.
Parents have to understand that they are stewards of their children, and you can't let them do anything. And they said, we don't. Yes, you do. You're afraid to go in their rooms. You're afraid to look on their computer. You're afraid to look on their phone. You just let them go out. How can you have a stolen AR-15 under your child's mattress in their bedroom?
Right.
Other week they call them weapons. That's because there's no inspection. And we have an age where parents are, what the word I'm looking for, lukewarm, indifferent, lackadaisical, just don't want to put no energy in being a parent. They think an iPad and a phone is the parent. But look what they've been said. I brought up the word curfew.
Right.
Almost a curse word in some area. You know? When I said that, I wasn't just talking about just do a curfew. I'm talking about have a curfew with the community involved, forming it and creating it that it works for what we need. Right. And that's what I was talking about. And I see they trying to do something like that, but you can't do that without having the community involved in the conversation.
Well, go ahead.
If you remember,
right,
and this was when I may not have been the president, but I think I was vice president of Concerned Clergy, and under Dinkins' leadership,
he was.
What we did was we had a curfew. I think the curfew, I don't know if we got a curfew now, but then what we did, they had a curfew. And what we did, the police had to do their job, the parents had to do their job, church, everybody had to take some responsibility. So what we did, the police, they didn't arrest them, but they detained the kids that were out after curfew.
Right.
They took them to a certain location.
Right.
They gave the parents 2 or 3 hours to pick them up.
Right.
And if they didn't pick them up, then they became part of the system.
Right.
And so, and it caused us to have to develop other social things because we found out that some of those kids was in situations that they shouldn't have been in. Because some of the parents in 2 or 3 hours did not come and get their kids. And so they became part of the system, and some of them end up in foster care, and whatever, CPS was involved, but whatever, because that was like child abandonment. And that's what we need to do now. We need to develop something like that. The police do their job. We don't want no police saying all I can do is walk around and follow them. No, if a 12-year-old ain't got no business on the street at 11:30 at night. You know, we used to say that about our kids. Do you know where your children are? You used to come on TV every night. Parents, do you know where your children are? And parents got to take the responsibility. The church, we were saying it over the pulpit. Okay, they come to us. Oh, my son got picked up. Well, he should have got picked up. Where were you? You know, we did it on the real, you know, and that's what we got to do now. That will help curb. And then the real criminals are just real criminals. That's who they are. But some of these kids are just hanging out. And we don't want to give them a prison record or some kind of record. We just want to help the kids. But the curfew, I think the curfew has to be implemented.
I noticed that when they had the press conference yesterday, it was law enforcement, and I didn't see community there. I know there was an email sent out today to leaders about meeting now. I wish that would have happened prior to the announcement about the curfew this weekend, because Reverend Willoughby and Deputy Mayor, I think we could bring wisdom as to how it was done in the past.
Yeah, we've been there, done that. We went through the debates about it. They do have a curfew on the books. It hasn't been enforced. That's all. I don't know who they consider leaders. Definitely, I'm not a leader. I just live in Hallville. But they got to get the people that are willing to do the work, like you, Pastor, Rev Willoughby. Y'all had boots on the ground. You ain't just talk it, but you were willing to put skin in the game. the thing about children today, they have access to communication. They can communicate and they can plot and plan their activities real quick.
Right, absolutely.
And I'm sure, and then you have, like Pastor said, you got a group of them. Some of them are criminals, believe it or not.
Right.
And they will challenge the police with this curfew. And then you got some people going to challenge you as adults, saying they're going to get sued, they got their rights. And man, we're trying to save lives and keep people from being in prison because of bad behavior, or because they're hanging around the wrong people. But we can't do this unless we have faith-based community, grassroots community, legal community, the media, law enforcement community, having this conversation. And then some people say, we ought to have the youth in it. Let me tell you something. The only thing the youth need to do is obey adults when they're underage.
Right, yes.
We give the rules and structure. All they want to do, they can't be me.
Right.
My 16-year-old, 17-year-old grandson can't be Aldrin Williams because they haven't gotten there yet.
Right, absolutely.
I know what they want to do, adult stuff. And they're going to cry about there's nothing to do on board. That's no excuse for shooting a gun or beating up somebody or tearing up somebody's property. We can't accept that behavior. They can have youth counselors. They can talk about doing youth stuff with the approval of adults. I agree 100%. But now this society now wants youth to run the family. Well, they don't want a family, believe it or not. That's the thing. They don't want family.
Right.
But like Pastor said, the pastors preached it, talked it, we talked it, we walked it. And it worked. Did it stop everything? But it brought it down to a low key. You already got somebody who's going to act up.
Right.
In the city, and you got to take the politics out of it.
Right.
You can't ignore. Sometimes people have meetings in my neighborhood. They don't invite me.
Right.
Because they don't like me or they don't like my views. That ain't how it works. You want everybody's view at the table.
That's right. That's right.
Everybody's view.
And the things they do for excitement today, I was just thinking about that on the way.
Right.
I used to play a game called marbles. I used to get have fun shooting marbles. I don't know what the kids are doing today, but every now and then somebody will show up with that stilly. And steal everybody's marbles.
Yeah, I was talking to a pastor a while ago on the phone. He bought him a pool table and ping pong. I said, "That one, you know what pool?" He told his grandkids was tearing the table. I said, "They don't know what pool is." Ping pong.
Right. We used to have to go outside and actually play when we were little. But now they sit in video games. Like you said, it's a different society. And I understand, because we don't want a bunch of police action shootings behind this. They have to be trained also in this, because some of the police now, they don't, you're talking about 16 years ago. How long ago, who was on the force then? They was able to pick these kids up, take them to a location. Wasn't no incidents. Didn't nobody get shot. There wasn't nobody. But now they got guns. That complicates the situation. So we have to do it very delicately, like you said. But as far as I'm concerned, when the parents came up to me and talked, my kids, I said, well, where were you at 11:30? Where was Johnny at 11:30? Here, he's 12 years old, supposed to have been at home at 10. Now, unless they're out there working a job, and they need to stop having these events downtown where they let them out after curfew. It ain't got to, what's a high school game doing at a time when teenagers get out after 11:30? The game should be over with by 8. Yeah. They ought to time. It ought to be over by 8 or 9 o'clock, so they got time to get home before 11 or whatever curfew is.
This is Real Talk with Reverend Charles Harrison, and my special guest today are former Deputy Mayor Aldrin Williams and pastor of in the city who's prominent, Reverend Richard Willoughby of Promised Land Christian Church. One of the issues I want to talk about is the whole issue of parenting. I'm probably more frustrated there. I've already raised 2 children. I got 2 still in the household who are juniors and seniors in high school, and I'm just old school. I'm old school, And I believe that I'm responsible for my kids. I'm responsible for where they go, who they're hanging out with. I don't allow my children to be out that time of night. So my son is 18 years old. He can't be out past 11 o'clock, okay? I know he's about to graduate, but we got a curfew in the house. I need to know where he is all the time. And most of the time, 99% of the time, I'm picking up my kids. So wherever they are, I know where they are. I'm picking them up. Sometimes I'm there an hour before the event is over so that when it's over and their curfew time, they're getting in my car. I don't understand where we got to the point where 12-year-old, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds are out downtown at 11:30 at nighttime. And to me, we got to have a tough conversation with parents.
Right.
My position is not the responsibility of pastors, community groups, and law enforcement to babysit these children. That's the parents' responsibility. So can we have a conversation with the community and with parents, concerning their responsibility as parents? I know some children don't have parents. I know they're being raised by grandparents or they're in foster care. But it seemed like to me we got to have some kind of conversation, and I know I'm old school, about adult responsibility when it comes to these kids. Because when I used to go downtown with 10 Point for years, you would have a 15-year-old or 14-year-old who's basically babysitting their siblings who are younger. So you may have 3 or 4 or 5 of them down there, no adult down there. So we're having to be the parent, the grandparent, when it comes to these kids.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the reality of it. And in my mind, back of my mind, what I'm about to say is going to seem pretty harsh, but unless you make them actually legally responsible, they won't be. There are some parents. I mean, where my church is 2 blocks from your church. And I had a parent just come up and try to give me their child.
Wow.
Give their child away.
Wow.
Well, now what kind of stuff is that? That's the kind of society that we are dealing with. So I took these 2 kids under my wings. I didn't have no place for them to stay. My church was right around the corner from the house. But I gave them my business card and told them, anything come up, call me directly.
Right.
You can call me directly. I opened up my food pantry, anything that we had, anything that the church could do, I made sure they was fed. This parent wasn't even making sure their child was fed. They were eating out of our food pantry. Now what do you do about that?
You remember the year we had the shooting at Expo? Remember that year?
Yeah.
8 or 9 people got shot.
Yeah, right down there. The police.
Yeah. The next year, you remember, Oljan, we held a press conference before Expo, and we said to the parents, we want everybody to come and enjoy Indiana Black Expo, but parents, do not send your kids down here unsupervised.
Radio and everything.
Yeah, we did TV, radio, and they didn't send them. Because we made it clear that what happened the previous year wasn't going to be tolerated.
Yeah, right.
And that
you had certain people had some private meetings.
Yes. We had private meetings with everybody, and we certainly with gangs and cliques. Told them, don't come down there this year with that. Yeah, yep. But because we brought it to the forefront and had the public conversation that we did on radio and TV, they didn't send them down there, and we haven't had that problem at Expo since then.
No, it's been Expo changed the whole issue of streets and stuff, crowds, with some things police did, and the community got involved, and the willing to volunteer. But things changed with different leadership. People forget, they forgot, about Joseph and everybody else.
They need to stop making it political.
Yeah,
because when we got something in place that's working,
I know that.
Who cares who the mayor is or who gets elected next year? Yeah. What's in place should stay in place.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Yeah, you can't never do a good job, a complete successful job without having a community in the conversation. And parents are community.
Right.
They come and people are involved in that conversation. And you got to have those conversations to work out the plans for the iPad people, the phone people.
Yeah.
It's different.
Right.
But that don't mean it can't be successful. But we got to do it together.
Right.
We have to work together. You got to put the resources in it.
Yes.
To make it work. We got programs in the city. They paying people $50,000 a year and stuff for do nothing. I call it. I said, then you want the parents, the pastors, etc. to come down there.
I know.
Do it for nothing.
Do it for free.
They're not asking for nothing. But I'm just saying.
Right.
You need to retool your resources to make it work. Sometimes you in the battle, you got to re-engage it a different way.
Right.
And we got to do that. And you can't. I talked to the chief briefly. I called him, encouraged him. I've been pushing the curfew ever since this happened.
Right.
And no one called me to this day.
Right.
Saying, could you be part of the conversation? Well, not that I know the question, but I've been doing this for 45 years and been through the cycle.
That's right.
I do have a few old ideas and a new idea that we can. But I'm not just talking about me. I'm talking about 20, 25 more people have a conversation to work out something, and then maybe get a small blue ribbon panel to monitor it to help make it forward. Because we wait until it's too late. To have these kind of, we don't know what's going to happen next, but I know children, they like this stuff now. They get on social media now, look what's going on. And they'll just ship it up north, they'll ship it down south. They'll move it and do something else, just for the excitement of it. This is this group of people. But we got to have the conversation and sit around on your broadcast or whatever you're doing and criticizing other people as well. It don't do us any good.
Right.
I heard one guy say, man, they crazy. These people got guns. They ain't going to be down there with these people. They've been having guns. This is nothing new. See, they don't understand how it works, Pastor. People don't get out and be police.
Right.
It's an in between, a mediator.
It's a relationship.
A relationship
It's
they
a
have,
relationship
and you
we try
talk
to
and you
develop.
build, and the kids are not mad at us or nobody else, and they'll listen to you or they'll watch it and see you, and they will come down. We have to do something. We can't say, well, it's over with now. It probably won't happen again.
Right.
We're going to do this weekend, and everything going to be okay. We got so many events coming to Indianapolis, so many things going to happen this summer that people want to go downtown. And the children should have a right to go downtown. I'm not saying that.
Right.
They should have a right to go to the fair. We put things in the fairground last year, a couple of years ago, that worked well for us, but same we did at the mall. 18 and under, you can't come in after 6 o'clock. You can't. It worked very well without a parent. There wasn't no kickback on it. We had less incidents. Everything. Same thing like the pastor said. Once we do this, you'll have less incidents.
That's right.
We got so many things going on.
That's true.
This year in Indianapolis in the neighborhood, but we have to do it. Now, we need young people. We need young adults. But don't come to the table talking about old school. Y'all ain't never done nothing. I'm here to save the day. Give me a break.
Yeah, that's true.
You just
That's
woke
true.
up from your stupor and
That's
realized
true.
that
That's
we
true.
got a problem.
That's true.
Right.
That's
Now,
true.
I want to share ideas with you and see if we can put something in the plan. And once we get a plan, I want you to implement it because you're young. I can't go out there and walk for 3 hours no more.
That's true.
Right.
My legs ain't gonna let me do that. You know. But we can work on a plan, and you go out there. Hey, young blood, you go out there and do it then.
Right.
And because you're the next leader, you're the future leadership of this community.
And that's the thing, OJ. We know some of the things that actually worked, and some of the people listening to us, the police department, they know what worked. The problem is when the problem goes down, then we stop. It should have been continuation of what was working. Should have been a continuation of it. And they stop, and like they said, because we got gray hair and all that, we know that. We want you to come take our place.
Yeah.
We want to train you in the right way to replace us. We know we're going to get out of here sooner or later.
I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
I want other people to step up to the plate.
We need the 20, 30 years old. We want you to be the leaders.
Yeah,
we want to make, but we want to support you.
And it got to be across the board. Take the politics out of this stuff and the resources that's available. He's got, I just know how, I just hate to go back and say, everybody, if you got money, to help fight, help resolve. You gotta show people what you're doing.
Right.
Where's the cracks at? Where's the hole in the net?
Yeah.
What else? So we got $5 million, $10 million, $15 million. When we had our plan, we knew where it was going. Everybody was accountable.
Right.
We got to say, well, what are you doing now? That shifted then. If downtown was a problem again, I don't know. I ain't been in the mall so long. I don't know what the problem is at. Other than the kids hit the streets, and they had a problem. But the chief of police, the mayor's office, the prosecutor's office, they got to talk to the community. But if you're going to talk to the community and you're going to send out a call for people to get involved, and the only ones you calling, the people not going to do nothing, not going to put no boots on the ground. They're just going to get in the room and posture themselves and talk about it, just how it should be done, and fuss and argue. The kids going to go on and see that and do what they're going to do.
Not going to resolve the problem.
I thought what was effective, and I thought we were very strategic in doing it. We had groups from all over the city so that kids who may have been downtown from the Hallville area, OGNU and the West Side ministers knew them, kids, in Unwhy and Crown Hill and Mapleton Fall Creek. We tended to know them. Then you had kids coming from the east side. We had Resurrection Community Partners and other leaders. They tend to know those kids, so that the kids that we were dealing with in the neighborhoods was the kids downtown. When you already had a prior relationship with them, then it made it easier to have those kind of conversations to keep things from escalating.
But it was so, I can remember walking around the bank and stuff, and some of the leadership pastors, we would go down there on buses, and the kids would see Pastor Willoughby.
Yes.
What you doing down here?
Yes.
Willoughby, what you doing down here?
Yeah.
They see, they see him. They see.
Bump into some of my church.
I bumped into a lot of youth from my church.
I gotta act right now because so-and-so's down here.
That's right.
And then they get on the bus. Some of them will get on the bus and go home.
Right.
So ain't no play down here because too many people know me, and they know me, and it worked well. It's hard to maintain. Right. I agree. It's got to be a system where you can maintain it, but you got to have people that know people. And 95% of the people that was walking never been in jail.
Right.
There were no ex-convicts. That thought they had the answer all the time. No, they was just regular neighborhood believers in Christ, most of them.
They knew we loved their children.
No, they love their children. But we worked with the police. The police was there in a meaningful conversation. And then the conversation got to go from downtown into the community, into the districts, to help pre-identify these problems before. People know who the bad characters are. Right. Even the kids know.
That's right.
Know who the bad characters are. Yeah. And we got to stop trying to blame the gunless. What is gunless permit? I heard the leadership talking about. Come on, man, come up with a better idea than that.
Because permits ain't got nothing to do with a 12-year-old.
No, they ain't. A permit or not permit, that ain't got nothing to do. Look here,
nothing to do with
12 to 17-year-old. What a permit got to do with them kids shooting one another? Nothing. So stop. They harking on that instead of come up with more positive solution.
Because they're not in touch with what's going on. It's always pushing their political agenda and not understanding the issue in itself. I see.
Pastor
go ahead.
Harrison, because you're in the same neighborhood I'm in.
Right.
And we have relationship with the people in the neighborhood. Right. And what they say about me when they see Pastor Willoughby, he ain't 5-0, he just trying to save your soul.
Yeah,
they actually say that. He ain't 5-0, he trying to save your soul.
That's right.
And they know why we there. We're
right.
trying to make things better for them and their families.
Right.
And them are the people that the political people don't know how to connect to, it seems like, for some reason. They go find a group and give them $50,000. Okay, what did they do about the issue? But at the end of the year, they give them $50,000 a year. Yeah. What did they do about the issue?
You're right.
Where are their results? What did they do?
Yeah, are they connected to the community?
Right.
Like you said, and I've been in Hallville for 50 years, and they've been threatened everything, but people knew that he's not trying to get, I would tell him, if you do wrong, though, you got to go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
We didn't stand up for unrighteousness.
You can't hurt people.
No.
But you got to have a communication. I was just thinking, the relationships used to be stronger in certain districts than others, and I was just thinking this here or there, but you knew the commander.
Right.
And you had their phone number.
Right.
They gave you their cell phone number.
Right.
Too. When you don't have their number, that let me know that they not engaged.
Right.
All you got is the office number.
Right.
Because you got to be trust there in relationship. And then like I said, we see crime.
Yeah.
We report it.
I still got some on cell phone number.
And you got to go all the way down and work with new people, new. But you got to communicate. You got to have the conversation. You got to have the diversity of thoughts and not just race but the diversity of thoughts in a communication with that. And there's got to be people that that's been there, done that, and you bring the new people in. They got all the new ideas and all the new energy, and then we all sit there and talk and have a conversation about it. The training is different for the police in somewhat. You got so many new people. Police are fearful of their lives. I don't blame them. They got guns. And we never addressed the issue.
Right.
Instead of worrying about permit, why not tighten down on people that sell guns to youth and put them in their hand? Those are the ones that need to go to jail.
Right.
And I go past what was said, son, and it's got to be accountability of the parents someplace.
Right.
You can't say, well, I didn't know Junior had an AR-15 under his mattress. I didn't know that. I'm surprised. What do you know about your son?
Yeah, but you have to know that. You have to know.
Yeah.
You can't let children bring guns into your house, nor hide them on your property. You know. My kids understand what the rules are, and you're going to abide by them, or there's going to be consequences and accountability.
Good word.
Yes, that's right.
Accountability.
That's right.
And we got to have more. And some parents, Lord bless Mary and my wife with 10 children, and 6 of those 10 were boys raised in Hallville. And we had responsibility. But not only that, when I was blessed to be at Christmas House, I started a mentoring program for young men. I felt like I needed to do that because some of them, like Pastor Wilson said, were missing fathers, structure. I can't just talk about it. Got to put some skin in the game.
That's right.
Now, I'm trying not to do that.
Right.
I'm 75 years old.
Right.
I'm trying to move on and do something.
Right.
I'm calling for other people to come and get involved. Let's work together. Don't come with a bunch of criticism and knocking and blocking and hating people that's done the work.
Right.
Let's sit down and work, and let's get these politics out of it.
Right.
Oh, I don't like this one because, either this and that. It don't make no difference in children losing their lives. Not only losing their lives, they're getting injured and killed, not just downtown.
Right.
We're going to have more youth violence in 2016 in the history of the city.
That's
you
true.
get the statistics,
That's true.
And killing and violence. Who fault it is the fault of the people that's doing it, but we got to help the parents, we got to help the children, and whatever we need to make it, parenting, I don't know what it takes all, but I know one thing, our church do stuff. We don't get no government money.
Right.
We feed people. We go out on the streets and stuff, and we work with the police to turn the criminals in. They shooting up my neighborhood, and we have to work together like we did. Us three sitting in this table. We'll work together for years.
That's right.
For years and years and years and years.
Right.
And we still willing to work with people, new and old, but they don't call on us no more.
Well, you remember if there was something going on in the neighborhood, then the other groups would go in that area and join in to get and support.
Right.
We would squash
if
it.
If they didn't come to the meeting, they still supported us.
Yeah. We would do that. I could call on Older. Hey, listen, we're having trouble over here. Can you and your guys come over here and help us out? I mean, we used to be able to do that.
And we did. We worked together, just hand in hand, talking about stuff.
Right.
The police would work with us. The mayor's office would work with us. And some of the people that didn't want to work with us.
Right.
I don't know why. Because this is a serious. Youth is our future.
That's right.
And we got to stop trying to push political agendas with these issues, and let's get to the core of the problem. Is we feel like in this city, our perception is we have too much violence and too much youth violence. Well, we have to do something about it. The police can never, stop this. Never.
No.
Matter of fact, we prefer them not to engage in it if possible, because we want to have a conversation, a community. Who said that? They always used to quote, called Hillary Clinton said it. It take a whole village, and she didn't come up with it. Look here, it takes the whole city of Indianapolis to work together to make a difference in this city. And I'm not a prophet nor a prophet's son.
Right.
But we're going to have a bigger issue in the future. We got so many new residents in Indianapolis that don't speak English, a different culture that's going to create problems. Amen. Not them, the bad people.
Right.
That we got to get a hold of. I see it in Hallville, the graffiti. I see the conversation. It's coming, and we got to get our kids under control so they won't get mixed up in something worse from Chicago or from Detroit. To bring this bad stuff in with this, and we have to work together. We have to work together, and I pray to God that the police, Chief Bailey and his staff, would do good this weekend, but also whoever they want to work with or whoever they call to the meeting, they can sit down and have a civil conversation. The solutions are there. Solutions already on the table.
Right.
It's nothing new. We always quote it, Solomon says, nothing new under the sun. That's true. The solutions, the ideas, the scope. Indianapolis has been a model nationally for decades. Decades. Right under our own nose, how this should work.
Yep. But the politics. My concern, just two concerns before we end the podcast. One is I'm concerned that if the police are just enforcing this weekend, if something happens, what's the pushback going to be? I wish there was greater. I wish there was greater participation from involving the community to be there, and then the secondly, these kids are smart, and Olden, you touched on it. If too much attention is put downtown, they're going to change locations.
Yeah.
And that needs to be a part of the strategy. If they go to Castleton Mall, if they go up to Broad Ripple, or wherever they may go, they're going to shift on us.
Right.
and they can change it through social media in a moment, and next thing you know, gobs of kids at another location.
Yeah.
So I hope they're thinking this through, too.
I hope they think, I hope they got the people that they can call on that would help them with this problem.
A weekend ain't gonna matter.
Right.
That's why they ain't thinking this through. They have not put the resources behind what they're about to do if they just gonna do it this weekend. Because this was something years ago we did. We had a system in place. We had CPS. Because what you gonna do if a parent doesn't come and pick up their child and you pick them up? What are you going to do with them?
They'll do that. They'll tell you in a minute. I'm not picking them up.
I ain't coming to get Johnny. You can have him. What they going to do? Have they really thought this through? They got to have all the systems in place like we did for this thing to work. You can't just pick up a person for a status offense. I think it's called a status, or detain them, and then say, come get your child. Have they got a location they going to take the child?
The juvenile, if they don't pick them up. If they don't pick them up.
That's what I heard.
Have they got enough beds for them? What they going to do, sleep on the floor?
Yeah.
How many busloads of people you think you're going to get this weekend?
Well, that's why I thought that leaders should have been a part of that presser, that are respected in the community, that could have helped send a message to the community that I think would have encouraged
them
parents
not to come down
there. Not to come down there. Yes.
Just in case that shows up. But tell you what, now at the moment we stopped sending. We stopped letting juvenile take them. We started sending them to the guardian home, children's home. I don't think they got that anymore. I don't know if they do it not.
No, that's
been gone. So, but we got to have places to go. For these children, and we got to identify, like Pastor Willoughby said, you got to identify the child that you may think has a serious issue,
Right.
or no parenting,
Right.
or no home, or really they on the street. So many kids are homeless, living in other people's houses. But you got to have
That's
that.
true.
You got to have that in place in the conversation
Right.
with that. But it's you got lots of great groups out here.
Right.
Lots of
Right.
great youth organizations.
Right.
They should be in the conversation.
That's
You
true.
getting $500,000 to work with youth and stop violence.
Right.
You should be in that conversation because you should say, I'm going to step up and help out, and I'm going to put these resources to the table to make it work. And then whatever zip code these children come out of,
Right.
we should be able to hand them off
Right.
to an organization, a church that's willing to work with them in the future. Monday, to call, knock on their door, see what's going on. Because a lot of these children do have problems.
That's true.
You're
That's
right,
true.
they do have problems.
They have problems.
And the 15-year-old is parenting the 12-year-old.
Right.
That's why they, like you said,
Right.
that's why I was down there. But whatever happens in the future, we have to work together to
Right.
make it work.
That's true. Right.
If we don't do that, we're going to be having
gonna
a
be
conversation
disastrous.
in pockets and criticizing other pockets and blaming other pockets and bringing the wrong agenda to the table. And then next thing you know, the kids are here laughing and they going
Right,
on. And
right.
it may not be shot downtown. They may be shot on the corner in
That's right.
Harveyville.
That's right.
But they got
That's
a new
right.
place to gather.
That's true. That's true. Thank you so much, Deputy Mayor Ogen Williams and Pastor Willoughby, for engaging in this important conversation today that we have had, concerning our children and youth in the city and what needs to be done and should be done if we're going to collectively address this problem that we have in the city with youth violence. My prayer is that things will work out well this weekend, but that we have a larger conversation that's really meaningful in finding ways to really address this concern. Thank you so much. Go ahead.
It will work out this weekend
Yeah.
because of what happened. It's hot issue
Okay.
conversation.
Okay.
They cool down for a minute
And then
they'll shift. They're not ignorant, by
Yeah.
any means. And all they want to do, they say, is have a good time.
Yeah.
But you always got that one or two.
Yeah. Apparently, this really started at a school.
Yeah, always. That's what happened.
Yeah. So it was planned.
Social media
Yeah,
playing
yes,
about
yeah, so it was
girls
planned.
fighting. Then somebody got a gun, can't stand them losing.
I know it.
They want to shoot them anyway.
Yep. That's true. Well, this has been Real Talk. And the next time I come before you on Real Talk, we're going to continue to bring in people to have these real conversations, uncensored, amen, not afraid to have a real conversation about what's really going on in the city, as we did today. And we talked about the politics of this issue that has kept us from keeping things in place that has worked for years in this city. So thank you so much for both of you joining me today in this conversation. For those of you who are listening, be sure to subscribe to this podcast and share it on Facebook and Twitter. And thank you so much for listening to us today. And I pray that you have a blessed and awesome day.
This is Real Talk with Reverend Charles Harrison.
Be sure to like and subscribe to this podcast.
And be sure to check out other great podcasts on the All Indiana Podcast Network.
Online now at allindianapodcast.com.